Question. Do I rock this mustache? Question. Do I rock these glasses? Question. What question did you want answered on this Asking Aggies Friday? Well, let's go ahead and answer some of them.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back into another episode of Locked On Aggies, presented by the Locked On Podcast Network. Cole Thompson back here in the driver's seat talking all things Texas A&M, and today, let's do an Asking Aggies Friday. Now, if you would like to be a part of Asking Aggies Friday, make sure you do one of the few things. I'll mention that in a minute. But thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. You can check us out on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube.com. Subscribe on all those different platforms. Second, if you like me, at Mr. Cole Thompson, I am the host of the show, name right down there below. I love public feedback. Anything you can do to make this a quality sounding podcast Monday through Friday, give me a follow, give me a shout out, and I will add it into the mix. Secondly, make sure you're following Locked On Aggies and allaggies.com. Locked On Aggies and allaggies.com are your number one source for all things 12 man related content found here on LOP. And of course, with Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, you want to make sure you go check that out. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and listen, of course, every single day at lockedonpodcast.com. So, every once in a while, I'll put my Twitter feed, Asking Aggies Friday, at Mr. Cole Thompson, name right down there below, or I will mention it on YouTube. I'll mention it on my, on the podcast at some point. We are doing an Asking Aggies Friday. If that is the case, send me your questions. I will try to get to as many of them. We got about 8 today, so I'm going to try and answer all 8. Here we go. All right, this first one. What do you think of Texas A&M's hot start in basketball? I think it's great. I think it's great that Buzz Williams is going to be able to get these players playing underneath him in a positive direction. But none of these games really matter. I know what people are going to say, every game matters. Yes, it does. But think about this for a quick second. None of these games really do matter when you break it down. Because if you look at their schedule, North Florida, Christian, Houston Baptist, Coastal Carolina. Not Coastal Carolina. Texas A&M Corpus Christi. The first real game that's going to be interesting to see and how they play. And I'm not even trying to say win. I'm saying play. Is Wisconsin next weekend, Monday. When they play the Badgers, I will be very interested to see how that invitational goes out. Because if there's got some games in there, some really good opponents coming up. Of course, Wisconsin's the big one. You got New Orleans as well in that conversation. Let's see. Who else is in that contest? I'm trying to think of. I'm looking it up right now. Butler, Houston. So you got some games ahead. You got TCU. You got Tulane coming up. Those are all games you could potentially win. Once it gets to SEC play, those are where the games truly matter. And Buzz Williams has done a good job winning outside of SEC play. It's the SEC play that does matter. And, of course, you look at the names that you lost last year. Guys like Emmanuel Miller. Guys like, I'm blanking on the center's name off the top of my head. The foreigner. You lost Savion Flagg. So there's some marquee names that have not been able to produce at the same level that you really wanted to, especially with what you thought was going to be the case when they were coming. The kid from Quinnipiac was the one who also transferred. But you did bring in a couple of really young transfers that I do really like. You started to see the chemistry a little bit unfold. And Buzz has done a good job in that aspect. Now, 4-0, it's great. Any single time that you can start a season off undefeated, that's always positive. Let me see what they look like when they play against Wisconsin on Monday. If they at least play close, I'm going to be excited. I'm going to be very excited for it. If they get blown out, well, therein is the problem that we were talking about, where Buzz Williams is a very good coach. Everything he has done from Marquette to Virginia Tech to get Texas A&M is the trend in the right direction. But you have to be able to close out games. And, there's been a few games, they had to go to overtime against, who was it? It wasn't Houston Baptist. It was Aggieland Christian. That was it. Aggieland Christian. They had to go to double overtime. You don't want to go to double overtime in that kind of game. You just don't. Those are games you're supposed to be winning by 8 points, 12 points, 14 points, and you're winning by 4 in double overtime. Just, no, that's not the way you want to go. Let's see. What's next on the list? Oh, here we go. What do you think of Ryan Tannehill in the NFL this season? I like him. Do I think that he is a perfect quarterback? Absolutely not. And I never once have. I've always said that the biggest thing about Tannehill that you can look at and his success since coming over to Tennessee is he's a high completion guy. He's averaging about 69 percentage of his throws are being completed. You're seeing him limit the turnovers. I think that this is the most he's had to start a year. And so you've seen that regression without the likes of Arthur Smith in the offense. You're also looking at him being a little bit more versatile in the run. He's actually gotten 2 red zone touchdowns in the last 2 games. So the fact that he's kind of taking over that role for Derrick Henry in the red zone as a running back, great. I mean, it's awesome. It's fantastic that you have that. But outside of that, there's a lot of questions there. I mean, there's a lot of questions for his longevity. I do think that, when you look at the offense as a whole, they do utilize Derrick Henry more. Derrick Henry is the driving and the pinnacle force of this team. So the fact that he's now out is now going to see what you can do as a passing attack offense. Now, Todd Downing and Mike Vrabel have to decide if they want to go more pass heavy, if they want to try to make more plays downfield, if they want to try to go ahead and extend plays through the air. And if that's the case, then I can see Tannehill actually continuing to have the surge of a season. He's a good quarterback. I will never say he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I will never say that he will be probably a superstar at the position, but he's a good quarterback. He's much more complete. I think that he has much more upside than the likes of somebody like like what Andy Dalton was. I think that he has done a really good job making that transition from being that no name in Miami to now a really good, stable option inside Tennessee. And I think the biggest thing of all you got to consider, they're winning. Like, that's the reality of it. As long as you're winning games, you're going to be employed. And every step along the way, they are playing better. They are playing more consistent. They are finding ways to win in close matchups. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. They're 8-2. They are the best team in the AFC for a reason. And Tannehill has been a part of that. I won't say that he has been the whole X factor of that, but he has been a part of that. This episode of Locked On Aggies is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's wants you to know that it has always been the place for you where you can get tasty and affordable food. It's a place where friends and family can meet and reconnect, a place where classmates can meet up. For study group, they have dependable Wi-Fi and endless supplies of French fries and McFlurries. Win or lose, the home crowd always want to go there afterwards to go ahead and recharge with an ice cold Coke. Maybe it's a Powerade. You never know. You got to get those electrolytes up. And it's the place where you always look forward to stopping in on a long road trip, rest your legs, and refuel. I personally love the fact that every single year right around this time, the McRib comes back. I am a huge McRib guy. I love the McRib. I probably have gone way too many times this month already just because of it, but I cannot get enough of it. So make sure you stop by your local McDonald's right up the road as soon as you can. They have everything from Wi-Fi. You can do birthday parties. Did you know that there's someone you can even work at McDonald's? You never know. Head over to your local McDonald's and reconnect. Did somebody say Locked On Aggies watch party? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. Locked On Aggies, presented by the Locked On Podcast Network. Let's continue with these questions. Okay. Who else would you like to see make it to the Senior Bowl? Okay, so let's go ahead and break that down. There's 3 names that have already been selected to the Senior Bowl. Aaron Hansford, Michael Clemens, and Leon O'Neal all have accepted their invites. They will be going to Mobile. I will likely be down there in Mobile with them, so I'm very excited for that aspect. Who else would I like to see? Okay, we'll take out some of the bang names. Kenyon Green, probably not going to go because if he is a junior, even if he does graduate, I don't think that he will go. Anaya Smith, another one. Don't think that he will go. I don't think you will see the likes of I don't think you'll see the likes of DeMarvin Leal go either. So, and Isaiah Spiller, he won't go. So, who would be the one that I would want to see? Probably if there was one, it would be Jameer Johnson. I think that, he's a graduate transfer. You don't really know what you have with him. He's played left tackle. He's played right tackle. He's played some guard. He's done it the right way. He's gone to community college, kind of built his name up, built up his GPA to be able to go to Tennessee. The reason he left Tennessee was not because of he did not like where he was. He left because of a coaching change. He was recruited by Jeremy Pruitt. They went out and they got Josh Heupel. When that happened, a lot of players left. You saw guys like Wanya Morris leave. You saw Ty Chandler leave. Eric Gray leave. So, this is just one of those things where if a new coach comes in, they're not always going to believe in you. Henry To'oTo'o left. So, I mean, like they lost a lot of talent. And what's funny is Heupel actually has Tennessee looking a lot better than I think people gave credit to. They really have an opportunity to finish 7-5 on the year, which in more ways than one, is really impressive knowing what they had to go up against, especially with basically a whole roster rebuild in an instant. I mean, Pruitt was there when they were recruiting. Like, Hypo came in late into the process. Very, very late in the process. Pruitt was going to get one more year to kind of figure things out, and if it didn't work out, they were going to fire him. Instead, the sanctions came down, so they had to go get a new guy. I think Jameer Johnson would be really interesting, though, in Mobile, mainly because of where does he fit? Is he a left tackle? Is he a right tackle? Can he make plays? Can he move laterally? Do they view him as maybe a guard inside? Do they think that his footwork is fine? Where is kind of his draft grade? There's really not an answer to that right now. And because if he is an older player, that does factor in a little bit. So I'd be very interested to see what happens with Jameer Johnson for sure. Who is the one Aggie that you have been the most impressed with this year? Oh, that's an easy one for me. It's Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper is so dang talented. It's funny because I don't even think he knows how talented he is. And if he does, good for him. Good for the kid. I've talked to him multiple times. Favorite interview. One of my favorite interviews to go do. Love talking to him. Think he's a fun guy. But the dude can play. Guy has safety speed, maybe even cornerback speed, closes gaps really quick, is able to get downfield. I cannot wait to see him move into a starting role. He has had a bigger impact over the last two games against Auburn and against Ole Miss than Andre White has and Aaron Hansford has. That says something. And the reason he's playing so much is because of he has to play. You look at the speed of these teams. Speed like Tank Bigsby. Speed like Jarquez Hunter. Speed like Jerrion Ely. Speed like Snoop Connor. And the physicality level of them too. So they're not only fast, they will knock you the out. Like in a heartbeat, they will knock you the out. And he is making plays left and right. He is shooting through gaps. He is a heat-seeking missile. Go turn on the film. I promise you. Mike Lucas of KX. If you go look him up, I think it's MLucas_KX. You do that. You look him up. What's so incredible about how he plays the game is that he moves so fast. Like, you can't see him. He's a blur. He literally moves so quickly. That offensive lineman, the second they're going through the progression, one up, oh, he's already past me. It's that fast. He's a great blitzer. He's a great open field tackler. He's got some coverage skills. He made an interception. I want to say it was against New Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. So, he's made some plays in coverage. And he's doing this at like maybe 30% of snaps of the field. He's not even playing more than like 30 to 35%. So when you have a player like that on the field making that type of impact, that says a lot about the direction of your linebacking core and where your team is probably set for the next few years. I'm very excited to see what he's going to be, especially with Hansford leaving. Will he be more of the thumper? Will he be more of the cover guy? Will you probably, for sure, when you run a dime defense where you're keeping a one linebacker out there, he's the guy you're keeping out there because he's just so dang talented. But I did not think he was going to have that big of a role just because of Hansford was coming back, just because Andre White was going to be on the roster. And he really has made an impact. I mean, it is scary how much of an impact he has made to this point as a rotational player. Imagine what he can do as a full-time starter. I would not be shocked to see him win the Butkus Award in 2022. I really wouldn't. He's that talented of a linebacker. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. Myles Garrett for defensive MVP. Do you believe that? Yes, I do. Guy is leading the NFL in sacks. Guy is leading the NFL in pressures. Even though he's playing for a mixed bag Cleveland Browns team, you got to remember that the fact of the matter is they look at that production and 13.55 sacks, and you're just at right past the halfway point of the season. I mean, we're 1 week past the halfway point of the season. I don't know if he gets the record. I think it's 22 total sacks. I don't know if he'll get that this season. But I will not be shocked if he gets to 20. I really won't. If you get to 20 at that point, you basically are handed the award. And you have to remember that when you look at kind of the position groups, I'm somebody who actually gets to go in. I get to see who are the voters, and I get to see what was the final outcome of the voting. When you look at the voting schedule, pass rushers will always get the benefit of the doubt. Like, pass rushers will always be the favorites to win Defensive Player of the Year. You never see a linebacker win it. You never really see a safety win it. You never really see a defensive lineman win it. You see the pass rushers. Last season, I would have given my vote not to Aaron Donald. I would have given it to Xavier Howard. Like, that's how, like Xavier Howard was so damn awesome in coverage. I would have given him it because he had 10 interceptions. He was 4 away from beating Night Train Lane's record of 14. I mean, He was 4 away from tying it. And if you tie that, to me, you get the record. You're the defensive player of the year. There's not even a question for that. So I would say if you get close to 20, which I think the record is 22 by Michael Strahan, if you get to that level, yes, I 100% would say he is the favorite. And I think right now he is 100% the favorite. Now, if he regresses in production, then you have to have that conversation. But for now, there's not even a close second. Like, he is 100% the number one guy that I would take. College football is winding down. The NFL season is at the midway point, but college basketball and the NBA are back in full swing. So make sure you go to the one place we love and the one place we trust. That's betonline.ag. Get daily picks, wagers, props, odds, and so much more when you check out betonline.ag. And when you go visit them, make sure you use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Betonline.ag is the number one source for college football, college basketball, NFL, NHL, MLB, offseason, NBA, and so much more. Plus, even your favorite poker games. You can go ahead and bet on that and win some money there. BetOnline.ag, your online sportsbooks experts. Locked on Aggies is brought to you by Built Bar. Now, Built Bar, listen, if you haven't had it before, I'm going to tell you right now. Go order a Built Bar. Oh my goodness. The bars are just fantastic. They're good for you, but more importantly, they're good tasting. Most protein bars taste like chalk or are covered in fake chocolate or something like that to try and get it down your throat and down your guzzle and your stomach in pain. But that's not the case with Built Bar. They're covered in 100% real chocolate and they're soft and easy to chew. They're great tasting. They're low in carbs, low in calorie, low in sugar, low in fat, high in protein, high in fiber. And on top of all those things, they're purely delicious with so many flavors. So whether you like mint brownie, coconut almond, salted caramel, double chocolate, Terry Barcia, they had recently a cookie dough one. And guess what? They always come out with new flavors roughly every 2 or 3 weeks. So you always just got to stay on the website, builtbar.com, to check out what is available. But go visit builtbar.com and type in locked 15 to save 15% off your very first purchase. Locked 15, LOCKEDON15 for 15% off your very next purchase. Stop eating the salty sweets and enjoy a treat that will meet your needs. Built Bar from BuiltBar.com. Locked on Aggies, presented by the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube.com, or just check us out at the Locked On Podcast Network. We got 3 more. Do you think Zach Calzada will win the starting job next season? That's a good one. That's an actual good one. Because the question is Haynes King back? Because if Haynes King is not back, which could very well be the case, he gets injured in week 2. Maybe he wants to go ahead and be the full-fledged starter at a different program. Maybe he wants to, not battle it out because of the names that are coming in. I mean, there is one, and we'll talk about him in a second. Maybe he does go ahead and transfer. Maybe Calzada transfers. Maybe Jimbo sits them down after spring ball or right before spring ball and go, Haynes is going to be the starter next year. Zach, you're going to be our backup. He may say, you know what? No, I was a starter all last year. I enjoyed being a starter. I want to go. I don't know what's going to be the answer to that. I do think that what's going to be really interesting is to see Haynes King coming back. What happens with Eli Stowers? What happens with, Calzada's status as right now QB1? And the addition of 5-star Connor Wengman. Wengman from Bridgeland, which is right outside of Cypress area. So it's literally right up the road. My girlfriend actually works near Bridgeland. So, I hear about Connor all the time. Is about as complete as a quarterback prospect that you could want. He's got good accuracy. He's got a good arm. He's got good vision. He's really loaded. The biggest thing you got to like about him is he comes from a baseball background. He plays outfield. I think he pitches as well. So he has that mental eye vision, the eye test, being able to look down the field and being able to drive something into the gap, but also being able to find his target from miles away because, he's playing center field. You want to drive that ball home and try and get the out, when he's tagging up at third. So he has that cannon, but also he has the accuracy and he has the footwork. And playing baseball really is good for footwork, especially when it comes to stealing bases, when it comes to base running, when it comes to, taking angles and routes. Those are all things that really do help out with the quarterback's footwork. So is he going to be in the running? This will be one of the highest recruited quarterbacks that Jimbo Fisher has ever had anywhere, from his time at LSU to his time at Florida State to his time at Texas A&M. So anywhere that he has been, there is going to be competition to be had. Now, again, if I am a betting man today, I would say Calzada starts the season. I do not know if he finishes the season as a starter, but I would say he starts the season without a doubt as the team starter. So if that's the case, if that's what your question is, yes, I do believe he comes back as a starter. I think Jimbo's going to see something like that. But if it's week 4, if it's week 5, and A&M is putting up 28 points, 32 points, maybe 18 points per game, and they're just squeezing by, at that point, you're going to have to go ahead and make a change, which I definitely could see happening as well. You keep talking about Jimbo Fisher as somebody who is not going to leave. Do you actually believe that? Yes, I do. I have been at press conferences before where I've heard people saying, I'm excited about where I'm at. I want to be here. I want to just, I enjoy being at this program. I enjoy being at this university. If someone says that, that's a key of pay me. That is a straight up key of pay me. I'll give you a perfect example. So we're talking about LSU job right now. And one of the key names right now that has been mentioned in the last couple of weeks is Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley has come out and said multiple times, I enjoy being at Oklahoma. You know how loyal, you know how much I love this program. You know how much I think that this program means to me and my family and how much we enjoy living in Norman. We want to continue to bring championships here. Never once does he say, I'm committed to staying here. Never once do I plan on leaving Norman, Oklahoma. What he's saying to the athletic director is, hi, pay me or I'm gone. They will pay, your turn to match. I won't leave if you match it, but if you don't match it, I'm going to listen to their offer. That's what it says. So whenever you hear a coordinator go, oh, I'm very excited to be here, everyone wants to be a head coach, but you're going to wait. So like Mike Elko is a perfect example. He's getting paid almost $2 million a year to be a defensive coordinator. He does not need to go be a head coach if he doesn't want to. But if he wants to, he can, because there's going to be definitely some opportunities. There has to be the right opportunity. I remember when I was at Alabama, when I was covering the Crimson Tide, when I was a kid, when I was still in college, and Kirby Smart, Georgia. Like that rumor started at the very beginning of the year. Mark Richt was going to be out that next year. They were going to go get Kirby Smart the entire time. I like being here. I'm very excited to be a part of, Alabama. Everything that Alabama has meant to me and my family and the program. We get it. Are you committed to being the defense coordinator for life? Are you committed to staying here for the next 15 years and being the coordinator? Never once did he say, yes, I am. Jimbo has said, yes, I plan on being in College Station. Yes, I plan on being Texas A&M's head football coach. Yes, I plan on remaining the member of the 12th man for as long as possible and fulfilling my contract. Yes, I believe him. Saying that to me means so much more than any other thing of like, oh, I love the program. I love the family. I love all this. He says, I plan on, I am committed to, I believe I will be here. Those are words coming out of his mouth. They're just straight up, yep, I'm going to be here. I'm not going anywhere. You got it. That's exactly what you want to hear. I 100% believe him. One more question. Say that, okay, here we go. Yeah. Say that Mike Elko leaves for a head coaching job. Who would you bring in as your defensive coordinator? I got a fun one, and I don't think it's going to happen. I don't. But I would call Ed Orgeron. I immediately would call Ed Orgeron. If Edo wants to become a head coach again, he's not going to get an opportunity, say, right away, I would call Edo. Because Edo has been at 3 different programs. Ole Miss, he has been at USC, and he's been at LSU. And the one thing he has done across the board with all 3 programs, he has punched out NFL talent at the first and second level of the defense. The third level, the secondary, that's kind of more so Dave Aranda. Like Dave Aranda really helped with that. The Bill Pelini was also really influential in that. There was another defensive coordinator before, I'm blanking on who it was, but the LSU like cornerbacks and the secondary players, they just are so dang talented. Like they just there's a reason they're called DBU. But Edo helped transform a lot of young defensive tackles, a lot of defensive ends from late round picks into mid round selections to even early round selections. So if I have that guy coming, if I have someone like that joining the staff and being the guy who can help me enhance the skills of McKinley Jackson and Fadil Diggs and Donnell Harris and Toonsey and Shamar Turner, and if you get Shamar Stewart and all that, then yeah, I 100% would go after Ed Orgeron. What's the worst he says? No? Hey, you want to come be our defense coordinator right here at Texas A&M? Oh, I know them before y'all. If you're not going to go there right now. Oh, okay, well, you know what? Thank you for asking. That's who I would call. Who do I think they go with? Either they promote someone on staff, or I can maybe see them going after kind of an older guy. I'm not sure which one yet. There's definitely a few. I think that Dan Lanning would be the ultimate one, but I don't think Dan's leaving Georgia. I think the next stop for him would be a Power 5 head coaching job, or at least a non-Power 5, really up-and-coming school, like maybe, not like a Bowling Green, but maybe like a Louisiana, like him taking over for Billy Napier. I could see that happening. I could see him going to like maybe a Rice or something like that, but that would be it. Edo would be my final pick. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Aggies. Make sure you're following us on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson and at Locked On Aggies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Now make sure your second listen is Locked On Bets with your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling. I'll be back on Monday to break down everything that went right on Senior Day. Congratulations to all those guys playing this weekend. Cannot wait to watch you ball it out. And we will get previews and prep ready for the likes of the final regular season game of 2021, Ed Orgeron's last game as an LSU Tiger head coach. See you on Monday, and remember, give me all.